A young adventurer, Roa, pants in exhaustion, his sword shattered after a difficult battle. Despite his injuries, he victoriously makes his way back to the nearby town. He arrives at his destination, the Adventurers Guild in Foil Village. He bursts through the doors, ready to announce his heroic deeds to everyone inside. Covered in grime, he proudly shouts that he defeated 2 whole slimes today. The entire guild hall falls silent, with all eyes turning towards him. But instead of praise, the other adventurers erupt in laughter, mocking his pathetic achievement. He tries to argue that slimes are tough, but they just laugh even harder. We see his stats. At level 10, Roa is barely clinging to life. He goes to the receptionist, hoping the 2 magic stones he found are valuable. The receptionist crushes his hopes, telling him they are only worth 3 coins. Roa explodes in anger, complaining that it's not even enough to buy food. However, the receptionist points to Roa's status, noticing something is very wrong. He points out that Roa's level has mysteriously dropped from 25 down to 10. The receptionist asks with a concerned look, "You consumed your level again, didn't you?" Roa explains that his sword broke fighting the slimes, so he had no choice. He used his unique skill, item creation, sacrificing 15 levels to forge a new sword. The receptionist says the skill sounds convenient, but Roa insists that it's a curse. He explains that he can't get stronger because he keeps sacrificing his levels for items. The more items he makes, the weaker he gets, so no party will accept him. Roa complains about his daily grind, fighting weak monsters for practically no reward. Suddenly, a powerful blast of magical wind sweeps through the entire guild hall. The force is so immense that it shakes the building and shatters the windows. The receptionist is terrified by the gust, but Roa instantly recognizes it as magic. A new figure confidently walks through the dust and debris he created. It's a smug mage named Carter, who immediately starts mocking Roa's pathetic earnings. Roa glares back at his rival, gritting his teeth in pure anger. Other adventurers yell at Carter for using magic indoors, but he just scoffs. Carter arrogantly boasts that his father owns the only item shop in the village. He threatens to blacklist anyone he dislikes, refusing to sell them essential potions. He turns to Roa, saying he used magic out of pity for him. Carter taunts him, saying he wasted precious levels for a cheap, useless sword. He sneers that his shop would never stock such a low-quality piece of junk. Roa simply turns away, thinking that Carter's mass-produced items are the real garbage. As he walks past, Roa states that he doesn't actually hate his unique skill. He fondly remembers how special it felt to buy an item with his own money. He declares that to gain something truly precious, you must make a worthy sacrifice. Carter is completely baffled by Roa's words, dismissing them as utter nonsense. The receptionist interrupts, reminding Roa not to forget his 3-coin payment. Roa takes his meager reward, noting it's enough to buy salt, and leaves. Carter watches Roa leave, muttering angrily about how much that guy gets on his nerves. Alone, Roa walks through the stone corridors of the local dungeon to train. He accepts his fate, knowing he has to make do with his supposedly useless skill. A quick explanation. To get stronger, adventurers need more than levels. They need skill points. Skill points are earned from leveling up and are used to learn new skills. But because Roa's level constantly fluctuates from his item creation, he never gains any SP. This means that no matter how hard he grinds, he can't learn any new skills or magic. He plunges his sword into a slime, his only method of fighting. Without skills, all he could do was hone his swordsmanship through sheer, back-breaking effort. Finally, after a long grind, he's back at level 49 with full HP. He now stands before the entrance to the final floor, ready to face the boss. He knows that one wrong move in there means certain death, not just injury. But if he wins, he can finally change his life of miserable poverty forever. As he walks deeper, he stops, sensing a strange power up ahead. A massive, glowing magical barrier completely seals the passage forward. He immediately realizes that beyond this point lies the dungeon boss's chamber. Once he steps through this barrier, there's no turning back until the boss is dead. He knows his chances are low, but it's better than continuing his current life. Filled with determination, he declares that he doesn't care if he dies and steps forward. His eyes narrow with resolve as he passes through the barrier into the boss room. Inside the boss room, Roa dodges a massive swing from his unseen opponent. He grins confidently, ready for the challenge that lies before him. The dungeon boss reveals itself, a giant, level 50 skeleton swordsman. Roa isn't fazed, noting that their recommended levels aren't too far apart. He believes this isn't an impossible fight and rushes in, clashing swords with the beast. The two engage in a fierce duel, their blades creating a shower of sparks. Roa struggles against the monster's immense power, which far surpasses any regular mob. But he pushes back, fueled by the sheer weight of his miserable life. He plants his feet firmly, determined to secure a victory right here. With a powerful roar, he yells that he will change his life now. The skeleton's eyes glow with malice as it prepares to strike him down. Roa expertly parries the blow, creating an opening for a counterattack. He shouts that he sacrificed 15 levels for this sword and won't be defeated. With all his might, he unleashes one final decisive blow against the skeleton. His sword cuts clean through the monster, shattering its armor and bony frame. The boss's skull cracks apart as its skeletal body finally collapses to the ground. Exhausted from the intense battle, Roa pants heavily, trying to catch his breath. He falls to his knees, staring in disbelief at the remains of the boss. Overcome with emotion, he looks at his trembling hand, a smile on his face. He clenches his fist in triumph, whispering, "Finally," as the boss drops an item. Roa explodes with joy, screaming at the top of his lungs about his victory. Suddenly, a mysterious ring of light and energy surrounds his entire body. System messages appear. He's leveled up, and his skill evolved into magic creation. He stares in utter shock, unable to comprehend his newfound powerful ability. The next day, it's business as usual back at the Adventurers Guild. A confident figure walks into the hall, attracting the attention of everyone inside. The receptionist and a few adventurers turn to see who just walked in. It's Roa. The receptionist casually greets him, asking what he needs today. Roa slams a huge bag of valuable magic gems onto the counter for appraisal. The receptionist is completely floored by the massive haul and demands an explanation. With a newfound confidence, Roa smirks and says, "Today is completely different." He winks, boasting that for the first time, he'll be eating well tonight. Later, he finds himself in the bustling dining hall of Foil Village. In front of him sits a simple but delicious-looking meal of stew and bread. He cries tears of pure joy, overwhelmed by the taste of actual food. The other patrons look on, mocking the weirdo crying over a cheap meal. As he eats, he thinks about the amazing new skill he acquired yesterday. He already tested it out in the dungeon and confirmed its incredible usefulness. Suddenly, an unwelcome guest snatches a piece of bread right from his plate. It's his rival, Carter, who smugly asks why he's in such a good mood. Roa explodes in fury, yelling that Carter just stole his precious jerky. He tries to ignore him, but Carter gets annoyed by his disrespectful attitude. Carter pulls up a chair, asking about the huge amount of gems he sold. Roa explains he got them from monsters, crushing the stolen jerky in his hand. Suddenly, Carter grabs him, loudly accusing him of stealing gems from his father's shop. Roa is shocked by the accusation. Carter's intimidating father, Condoro, suddenly appears. Condoro, the shop owner, declares that the punishment for stealing from him is death. He tells the crowd that his entire stock of magic stones vanished last night. Condoro points directly at Roa, accusing him of being the thief who sold the gems. Roa denies it, but Carter says a useless adventurer could never gather so many. The patrons agree, concluding that Roa's poverty must have driven him to theft. Roa scoffs at their half-baked theories, calling their reasoning absolute garbage. To show his power, Roa uses his new skill, creating a wind bullet spell. Carter is shocked, but prepares his own magic, threatening to retaliate if Roa attacks. Roa realizes with dread that creating that simple spell just cost him 5 levels. Carter gets right in his face, aggressively demanding that he just confess already. Roa screams back, furiously insisting that he is not the one who did it. Grabbing his collar, Carter threatens to frame him for the crime and get him punished. He reveals his party is broke and offers Roa a deal to get him out. Carter leans in, whispering that since he trusts no one, he'll tell Roa a secret. Carter whispers a shocking confession to Roa. He was the one who stole the gems. Roa remains completely silent, his expression unreadable as he processes the new information. Confident his plan worked, Carter tells his father to take Roa to the guards. But before they can move, Roa's hand shoots out, grabbing Carter's arm forcefully. With a sinister grin, Roa says, "That's great news. Now he knows who to punish." Carter panics, yelling at him for smiling and still refusing to admit he's the thief. Roa floats into the air, declaring he didn't steal anything. He earned those gems. Both Carter and his father are stunned by this sudden, immense surge of magic. A massive magic circle appears beneath Roa, shocking Carter, who recognizes the spell. He screams in disbelief, demanding to know how a pathetic loser like Roa can use magic. Dark energy crackles and gathers in Roa's hand as he prepares to unleash his power. He channels a powerful D-rank spell, Flame Spear, to everyone's absolute astonishment. The entire crowd is speechless, wondering how this is even remotely possible. Carter and Condoro look on in pure terror, sweating bullets at the display. Even the guild receptionist peeks out, unable to believe that Roa is using magic. Roa stands confidently, surrounded by magical energy, ready to prove his innocence. We flash back to Roa in the dungeon, preparing to test his new skill. This took place right after he defeated the dungeon boss and got his skill upgrade. He had discovered a new magic creation section in his status menu. It listed powerful spells, but they required insane costs, like 50 levels and 250 MP. Roa studies the list of spells, finally understanding how his new skill truly works. He smirks, realizing that, just like before, it requires him to consume his levels. It's the same principle as his old skill. Sacrifice levels to gain something new. He's ecstatic, knowing he's just unlocked a systematic way to obtain powerful magic. This is a massive game changer, since magic is incredibly effective in any battle. Before, he had to painstakingly kill weak slimes just to regain his lost levels. Now, with magic, he can farm monsters efficiently and level up much faster. He sits down on some dungeon rubble, needing a moment to process his options. He forces himself to calm down, knowing he has to choose his first spell wisely. But he can't help his excitement, wanting every spell, especially the awesome fireballs. He rejects Great Fireball, realizing its massive MP cost means he can only cast it once. Thankfully, he notices a wide variety of cheaper, low-cost spells he can learn. After careful consideration, he makes his decision and selects his very first spell. He acquires Flame Spear, and a ball of pure energy forms between his hands. The cost to learn this powerful spell was a hefty price of 25 levels. He looks at the glowing energy, wondering if he can now use it at will. He also learns a few basic utility spells, since they only cost 1 level each. With his new arsenal ready, all he needs is a monster to test it on. He smiles to himself, hoping a convenient test subject will appear before him. As if summoned by his thoughts, a level 32 Cobalt fighter appears down the corridor. The Cobalt fighter looks at him with a surprisingly cute and innocent expression. But Roa is now level 1, having spent all his levels learning new skills. The creature's face suddenly turns demonic, and it lunges forward to attack him. Roa barely dodges as the monster smashes the dungeon wall to pieces behind him. In a panic, he quickly prepares his first ever combat spell, the Flame Spear. He unleashes a massive torrent of dark fire directly at the charging beast. The spell hits its mark, blasting a gaping hole straight through the monster's chest. Roa stares in disbelief at the raw, destructive power he now wields in his hands. The Cobalt fighter is sent flying across the room, defeated by the single attack. He wipes the sweat from his face, still breathless from his newfound strength. His awe quickly turns into pure, unadulterated joy as he celebrates his power. He realizes he can now one-shot enemies far stronger than him with this ability. Thanks to the massive level difference, he instantly jumps from level 1 to 11. He's ecstatic. Gaining 10 levels at once would normally take him over a week. He clenches his fist with newfound determination, a smirk forming on his face. For the first time, he feels the true, exhilarating fun of growing stronger. He vows to master magic, using his magic creation skill from this day forward. The scene transitions, returning us from the flashback to the tense present moment. Back in the tavern, Roa stands surrounded by that same dark magical energy. Carter, now terrified, quickly apologizes and begs him to stop the spell. Carter frantically apologizes, admitting Roa isn't the thief and begging for forgiveness. Roa remains unimpressed, his cold stare fixed on the groveling, pathetic mage. He clenches his fist, and the overwhelming magical aura around him finally dissipates. Roa tells Carter he only wants him to repeat his earlier whispered confession aloud. Believing he'll be pardoned, Carter agrees to tell the truth to the entire room. With a nervous stutter, he begins to reveal what actually happened with the gems. But then, he suddenly points at the receptionist, accusing him of the crime. The receptionist panics, frantically denying the absurd accusation and claiming his innocence. Carter laughs triumphantly and tries to make a run for it, leaving chaos behind. He continues his act, yelling at the poor receptionist to stop his supposed lies. But before he can escape, he's blasted back by a sudden magical attack. It was Carter who attacked, casting Wind Bullet directly at the defenseless receptionist. Roa's expression hardens, his patience finally worn completely thin by Carter's actions. Roa steps in, effortlessly deflecting the powerful magical attack with his own power. He tells Carter he's disappointed, wishing he'd confessed of his own free will. Roa then addresses the crowd, announcing he has another spell he'd like to demonstrate. He reveals his utility spells, Record and Playback, two of his cheapest creations. He plays back Carter's earlier threats, exposing his entire plan to frame him. The recording continues, revealing his party's financial troubles as his motive for everything. Finally, the playback reveals Carter's plan to use Roa's lack of proof against him. The playback continues, with Carter's recorded voice echoing through the shocked tavern. Finally, his ultimate confession is broadcast for all to hear. I stole the gems. Carter is cornered and completely terrified, stammering that the recording is fake. His own father, Condoro, grabs him by the collar, seething with absolute rage. The receptionist thanks Roa profusely as Condoro brutally punishes his pathetic son. The crowd, once his tormentors, now cheers for Roa, calling him their hero. Roa smiles, thinking that with this, at least people will stop laughing at him. The villagers celebrate his victory, and he feels he can finally move forward. The very next day, things at the guild have drastically changed for Roa. A party of adventurers immediately approaches him, looking to recruit a powerful mage. Another party, this time all women, tries to tempt him into joining their group. Even a huge, muscular fanboy begs Roa for the honor of fighting alongside him. Roa politely but firmly rejects all the offers, saying he prefers to work alone. The fanboy smashes through a wall, vowing to train harder and try again. Roa realizes just how in-demand mages are, having gotten 5 offers already. But he knows partying is inefficient, as EXP gets split equally among members. His best strategy is to grind solo, level up quickly, and acquire more magic. He heads to the counter, where the receptionist says he's been waiting for him. The receptionist asks Roa for his guild card, much to Roa's confusion. With a wide smile, the receptionist holds up the card, explaining it's time for an update. The receptionist congratulates Roa, announcing his promotion from F rank to the prestigious E rank. Roa is completely stunned, barely able to process the sudden good news. He asks why he got promoted, and the receptionist teases him for being clueless. It's explained that his display of power yesterday proved he's worthy of the rank. He's given a new, bronze-colored guild card to replace his old iron one. Roa stares at the card, his hand trembling with sheer, unadulterated emotion. He's overcome with joy, exclaiming how long it took him to achieve this. The receptionist smiles, admitting he'll miss Roa now that he's a proper adventurer. Later, back in the dungeon, Roa wonders if he's done fighting slimes forever. He looks at his new E-rank card with a satisfied and happy smile. With renewed vigor, he declares it's time to hunt monsters worthy of his rank. Suddenly, his hunt is interrupted by the sound of someone shouting in the distance. He cautiously peeks around a corner and sees another party of adventurers fighting. A man aggressively yells at a young girl, ordering her to tank properly. The girl, Sonia, looks terrified and meekly apologizes for her apparent failure. She struggles under the weight of her massive shield, but vows to do her best. Her eyes are wide with fear, but she stands her ground against the monster. Roa watches from his hiding spot, thinking what a truly unpleasant party they are. He knows a tank's job is to draw all the enemy's attention onto them. Despite her looks, she's doing her job perfectly, acting as an effective target. Her party members argue, questioning why she's being berated for doing her job correctly. Roa decides to mind his own business and turns around to leave them be. But just as he leaves, a goblin ambushes Sonya, preparing a deadly strike from behind. Her clueless party members yell at her, completely oblivious to the real, immediate danger. Sonya senses the attack and whips around, raising her shield in a panic. Her teammates finally notice the goblin and scream her name out in pure terror. The massive goblin brings its blade down, ready to split her clean in two. She realizes it's a pincer attack as a second goblin appears to flank her. Knowing she can't defend in time, Sonya braces herself for the inevitable impact. Suddenly, a bolt of dark magic slams into the goblin, saving her life instantly. Sonya opens her eyes in shock, staring at where the fatal blow should have landed. The goblin's corpse falls to the ground as she wonders who cast that magic. She thanks her party's mage, but the mage denies casting any spell to help. The other party member also thanks the mage, who is still completely baffled by it. The blonde mage gets flustered, but decides to take the credit for the save anyway. As the party finishes off the remaining goblin, Roa quietly slips away from the scene. He smiles, relieved that he wasn't caught, not wanting to deal with their drama. He knows adventurers accept the risks, and interfering with other parties is a big taboo. But he couldn't just stand by and watch her get slaughtered right before his eyes. He checks his status, confirming that casting the spell has drained some of his MP. He realizes his new skill didn't replace the old one, meaning he now possesses two unique skills. Since he still has his old skill, he decides to make use of item creation. He instantly creates an MP potion, sacrificing 10 levels to restore a massive 300 MP. He calculates his spending. With 20 levels used, he's now down to level 30. With his remaining levels, he decides to create another magical item he's interested in. He chooses the item box spell, which costs 25 levels for a pocket dimension. He successfully creates the item box and stores his MP recovery potions inside for later. This is incredibly convenient. With low base MP, these potions are now his lifeline. Now fired up, he decides to grind levels and mass produce as many potions as possible. On day 1, he grinds hard, creating 12 more potions for his growing stockpile. On the second day, he creates 20 more potions while watching Sonya's party struggle. On the third day, he moves on to stronger monsters, crafting another 30 potions. By day 4, he triumphantly crafts his 100th potion, filling up his item box. His preparations complete, he heads to the final floor to face the E-rank boss. As he approaches the boss room, he stops, sensing something strange is up ahead. He sees a boss barrier, realizing that someone is already inside fighting the boss. To his surprise, it's Sonya, the young tank from that abusive party, fighting alone. She's soloing the boss, a massive D-rank king frog with a level of 120. Roa is shocked, unable to believe this colossal frog is the dungeon's boss. The giant frog unleashes a powerful attack, its long tongue shooting out like a whip. Sonya struggles to block the powerful tongue attack with her massive, heavy shield. The giant frog prepares another devastating attack, ready to crush her completely. Its tongue whips around her shield, smashing into her and sending her flying back. Watching from the entrance, Roa thinks that something about this situation is very strange. He wonders why she's fighting this powerful boss all alone without her party. Sonya knows that as a frontline tank, she has no chance of winning this fight. Roa clenches his jaw, realizing that if this continues, she will certainly die. He peeks from behind the wall, about to jump in, but stops himself again. He remains hidden, completely torn about whether he should interfere in her battle. He tries to rationalize it. Being an adventurer means she accepted all these risks. He remembers his own difficult past, how he never relied on anyone but himself. He assumes she must feel the same way about her own pride as an adventurer. He thinks that interfering now would just be an insult to her firm resolve. He looks down, trying to convince himself that walking away is the right decision. But he admits that's a lie. Deep down, he always wished for someone's help. He remembers how he just acted tough to hide his own weakness from everyone else. He questions his own actions. Was helping her before just a foolish whim? Would she just see his help as him being an annoying, meddling busybody? Sonya looks up with eyes full of despair, accepting her impending, tragic fate. The frog attacks, but she decides survival is more important than any of her pride. Suddenly, an unseen force slams directly into the side of the massive king frog. The monster stumbles back, recoiling in pain from the unexpected magical assault. Roa enters the boss room, telling Sonya that a single hit won't be enough. He coolly introduces himself as just a passing adventurer who happened to be nearby. With a smirk, he boldly declares that he's going to steal this boss kill. Roa, currently at level 40, now stands alone against the level 120 dungeon boss. He immediately regrets his grand entrance, realizing the huge level gap between them. With Sonya out of commission, he knows he has to defeat this monster alone. The frog leaps into the air, preparing a devastating body slam to crush him. Roa dodges just in time as the frog smashes the ground, sending rocks flying. He realizes with dread that one direct hit from this beast means certain death, but he clenches his fist, confident that he can win if his magic hits. The frog lunges forward with surprising speed, its massive mouth wide open. Roa is sent flying, barely dodging the monster's relentless and powerful attacks. He's cornered against a wall, screaming at the beast to just wait a second. He realizes in a panic that his flame spear has a 4-second casting time. Sonya yells from the sidelines, revealing the king frog's weak point is its belly. Roa thanks her for the crucial piece of intel that could save his life. He knows hitting the belly will be difficult, but he starts to form a plan. He smirks, thinking that if magic is too slow, he'll use an item instead. Sonya is shocked by his plan to use MP potions as an offensive weapon. The massive frog attempts to crush Roa with a powerful stomp attack. The stomp shatters his first potion, but he dodges the blow just in time. Undeterred, Roa yells, "Again!" and prepares another volley of his explosive potions. He hurls another vial with all his might, aiming it directly at the monster. "Not yet!" he shouts, continuing his relentless barrage of improvised potion grenades. Sonya tries to warn him, telling him to save his potions for healing instead. The constant explosions successfully draw the king frog's full attention to Roa. He continues to dodge its attacks, while goading it to focus on him. He reassures Sonya, confidently stating that this is all part of his plan. He lands a direct hit, shattering a potion right in the monster's eye. The giant frog roars in pain and frustration, momentarily blinded by the attack. Seeing his opening, Roa immediately begins to chant his most powerful spell. A countdown starts. 4. He gathers the immense magical energy for his attack. 3. The frog is still disoriented, giving him just enough time to prepare. 2. He plants his feet, ready to launch himself towards the giant monster. 1. He leaps into the air, the magic circle glowing brightly in his hand. 0! With a powerful roar, he unleashes the full might of his spell. He screams Flame Spear as a massive blast of fire erupts from his hand. The spell hits its mark, blasting a hole through the frog's vulnerable belly. Sonya stares in awe, finally realizing the true purpose behind his seemingly random magic. Roa explains he used the potions to make the ground slippery, not for healing. He stands proudly over the defeated boss, admitting that showing off is actually pretty fun. With tears of gratitude in her eyes, Sonya thanks him sincerely for saving her life. As they walk away, she points out he has glass shards stuck in his back. Suddenly, Roa stops, feeling a massive surge of power flow through his entire body. He's showered with notifications, instantly leveling up from 40 all the way to 70. He also earns the title Dungeon Conqueror, which grants him a huge stat boost. Roa is ecstatic, celebrating his massive level gain and brand new powerful title. He turns to share the good news with Sonya, but something is terribly wrong. Her body finally gives out from her injuries, and she collapses to the ground. Roa rushes to her side, realizing she was on death's door this whole time. Without hesitation, he sacrifices 10 levels to create a powerful HP recovery potion. He holds it to her lips, but she's barely conscious enough to drink it. She tries to refuse the expensive item, coughing up a mouthful of blood. He insists, telling her it's nothing, and forces the life-saving potion down her throat. The potion works instantly, and Sonya is amazed at how quickly she feels better. She bows deeply, thanking him profusely for saving her life for the second time. She reveals she knew he was the one who saved her from the hobgoblins earlier. Caught red-handed, Roa gets flustered, and awkwardly scratches the back of his head. Sonya gets flustered, insisting that she's incredibly grateful for all his help. He introduces himself as Roa, saying he overheard her party shouting her name. Sonya then asks him a very important question. Where did his companions go? Her expression turns somber as she prepares to tell him the horrible truth. She confesses that while she was fighting, her entire party abandoned her and fled. Roa is completely shocked, unable to believe they would just leave her for dead. She explains that as the tank, she always enters battle first to engage the enemy. This time, she was the only one to step through the boss's barrier alone. Her party saw the boss, decided it was too strong, and simply ran away. Roa explodes in anger, questioning why she'd party with such despicable cowards. She sadly reveals that she has a very unique but extremely limiting personal skill. Her skill, Impregnable Fortress, prevents her from ever learning any offensive abilities. Because of this, she's forced to endure horrible treatment just to be in a party. She cries, knowing that if Roa hadn't shown up, she would be dead now. Roa listens silently, seeing the painful similarities between her struggles and his own. He realizes they're the same, both cursed with inconvenient skills and looked down upon. He clenches his fist in anger, knowing her party was just using her. He gently takes her shield, and she asks him what he's doing now. He declares they're returning to the village to find her worthless former party members. Filled with rage, he vows he won't let this horrible injustice stand unpunished. With a confident smirk, Roa decides he's going to meddle just one last time. Sonya is completely baffled, having no idea what he is planning to do next. Meanwhile, Sonya's former party members are casually drinking back at the local tavern. The leader admits he knew a D-rank monster was there, but was shocked by its size. The mage laughs it off, saying she feels bad, but is glad they escaped alive. They justify their actions, saying death is a risk every adventurer must always accept. Suddenly, Roa and Sonya appear at the tavern, their faces full of cold fury. The party members are absolutely shocked to see Sonya standing there completely unharmed. They scream in disbelief, questioning how she could possibly still be alive after that. The mage instantly starts fake crying, putting on a show for the entire tavern. She acts overjoyed, exclaiming how relieved she is that her precious Sonya is safe. She hugs Sonya tightly, blaming her for rushing into the boss room all alone. Sonya is speechless, completely stunned by her former teammates' shameless, blatant lies. Roa explains that adventurers care deeply about their reputations among their peers. A bad reputation for abandoning allies makes recruiting strong party members almost impossible. Roa confronts them, declaring that ruining their reputation is the perfect punishment for them. He shouts that if he hadn't been there to save her, she would be dead. The other tavern patrons overhear and start gossiping about the party's scummy behavior. The leader yells at the mage to stop her terrible fake crying act immediately. He angrily denies everything, demanding Roa provide any proof of their cowardly actions. When asked for proof, Roa smirks, confirming that, of course, he has it. He presents a D-rank magic stone, the unique drop from the King Frog boss. He explains that since they fled, there's no way they could possess this item. The leader argues back, accusing Roa of just faking it with his creation skill. They desperately try to shift the blame, claiming Sonya acted recklessly on her own. Roa calmly turns to the crowd, leaving it to them to judge who is lying. One look at Sonya's beaten and exhausted face makes the truth painfully obvious to everyone. The patrons begin to whisper amongst themselves, disgusted by the party's cowardice and cruelty. Roa taunts them, saying his rock-bottom reputation can't fall, but theirs certainly can. Completely enraged, the party leader lunges forward and throws a punch directly at Roa. But Roa is unfazed, effortlessly blocking the desperate and clumsy attack with one hand. He counters with a powerful strike, slamming the leader's face straight into the ground. Roa boasts that years of sword training made him a master of unarmed combat. The remaining party members draw their weapons, ready to escalate the intense brawl. But the guild receptionist slams his fist down, screaming at them to stop it. He threatens to revoke all their guild cards if they continue fighting inside. The normally calm receptionist is furious, having finally snapped from all their constant trouble. Sonya grabs Roa's arm, pulling him away from the conflict, and insisting she's okay. Roa is surprised by her intervention, but she pulls him towards the exit anyway. She turns to him with a radiant smile, thanking him for helping her vent. Roa is taken aback by her sudden, bright, and genuine smile. He smiles warmly in return, glad that she is finally feeling better. He admits that he also had to fight in ways he wasn't accustomed to. To thank him, Sonya orders an incredibly lavish and expensive feast for them. She insists that he eat, telling him not to worry about the cost. Roa is completely overwhelmed by the sight of such luxurious food before him. He stammers, but she says this is the least she can do for him. He decides not to hold back and grabs the massive roasted meat leg. Without any hesitation, he takes a huge, ravenous bite out of the food. The delicious taste sends him into a state of pure, meat-fueled ecstasy. He confesses he's never eaten well and only recently learned to use his magic. Before that, he was constantly mocked and ridiculed for being completely useless. He admits he saved her because he saw his old, lonely self in her struggle. He says he almost ran away, so he doesn't feel worthy of her thanks. He tries to offer to pay, but she quietly listens to his heartfelt confession. Sonya insists that despite his hesitation, he ultimately chose to save her life. She bows her head, declaring her strong desire to properly repay his kindness. She looks at him seriously and asks him to form a party with her. Roa is shocked by the offer. Sonya reveals she's a fallen noble just starting out. She believes their similar struggles from the bottom would make them a great team. Roa is left speechless, contemplating her completely unexpected and serious proposal. He realizes a dedicated tank and a rearguard mage would be a perfectly balanced team. With a confident smile, Roa agrees to her offer. Let's form a party. Sonya's face immediately lights up with pure, uncontainable joy and relief. She's overjoyed, exclaiming that now she can finally repay him for saving her life. They seal their new partnership with a toast, looking forward to their future adventures. The next morning, the sun shines brightly on the inn where they are staying. Inside, Roa is still sound asleep, peacefully resting in his comfortable bed. Sonya calls out to him from his doorway, trying to wake him up. Roa groggily mumbles from under his covers, complaining that it's way too late. He drools slightly, still struggling to shake off the remnants of his deep sleep. Suddenly, Sonya looms over him, threateningly raising her massive shield above her head. She slams the shield down right beside him, the impact shaking the entire room. Roa jolts awake in terror, demanding to know why she's in his room. She explains that since their rooms were adjacent, she let herself in to wake him. He remembers getting drunk last night and walking her back to the same inn. She asks if he always sleeps in this late, and he admits he does. Sonya playfully asks if he's a bit of a slacker, which he sheepishly confirms. She cheerfully declares she'll be his personal alarm clock every single morning from now on. As she leaves, she tells him to just wake up earlier if he dislikes it. As she leaves, Sonya teases him, saying his sleeping face was actually quite cute. Roa is left flustered, not knowing how to react to her playful morning jab. He sits on his bed, already realizing that being in a party is a lot of trouble. Later, outside the village, Sonya informs him she has sent their party application. Once it's approved, they can see each other's stats. Sonya has a massive 500 defense. Roa is shocked by her stats, while she's amazed he has 2 unique skills. He is surprised to learn that having 2 unique skills is considered incredibly rare. Sonya insists she's never seen or even heard of anyone with that ability. She thinks about how he used his powers to help her instead of for profit. With a gentle smile, she tells him that he is a truly kind person. Roa gets flustered by the compliment, telling her he's not used to being praised. Sonya asks what their plan for the day is, but Roa seems a bit hesitant. He suggests they tackle the E-rank dungeon again to test their new party dynamic. He looks at her, deciding on their first official mission as a 2-person party. His plan is to return to the King Frog's dungeon and clear its deepest floor. He explains that clearing both the F and E rank dungeons grants a special title. Since Sonya doesn't have the F rank title yet, he suggests she go get it. He warns her not to push herself too hard, remembering her near-death experience. However, Sonya confidently declines his suggestion to go to the weaker F rank dungeon. With a bright smile, she says she'll be fine, because Roa is with her now. Moved by her confidence, Roa agrees to her plan to tackle the harder dungeon. But before they head out, he decides to prepare by learning a new spell. He chooses Great Fireball, a powerful spell that costs a massive 50 levels. He successfully acquires the new spell, with Sonya watching the magical light in awe. On their way, he explains he spent 50 of his 60 available levels on that. With a cheerful thumbs up, he declares he's now a fragile level 10 again. Sonya is impressed by his courage, admitting she could never be so reckless herself. She raises her shield, vowing to protect him and let nothing touch him. Roa smiles, telling her that he is counting on her to be his shield. He's excited to finally test the destructive power of his newly acquired magic. They step into the dimly lit stone corridors of the E-rank dungeon together. Almost immediately, a pair of fierce, wolf-like monsters rush to attack them. Roa immediately starts casting, yelling at Sonya to buy him just 4 seconds. Sonya confidently agrees, ready to show off her incredible tanking skills for him. She expertly bashes one of the charging wolves, absorbing its attack with her shield. She taunts both monsters, successfully drawing all of their aggression towards herself. Roa watches her perfectly group up the two enemies, creating the ideal opening. He praises her expert tanking as he finishes chanting his powerful spell. He unleashes his Flame Spear, piercing through both of the lined-up monsters at once. Sonya cheers in amazement as Roa achieves a perfect and clean double kill. Sonya praises Roa's skill, but he insists that it wasn't his power alone that won the fight. He gives her credit, explaining that her ability to lure enemies was the real reason for their success. Flustered by the compliment, Sonya stammers, her cheeks blushing as she tries to respond to his praise. Suddenly, a new enemy, a Cobalt Knight, appears in the stone corridor, interrupting their pleasant conversation. Sonya yells for Roa to cast a spell, launching a powerful fire arrow at the new foe. Following a bright flash, the monster is swiftly dispatched, allowing them to continue their descent. Having reached the final floor so easily, Roa remarks on how smoothly they've progressed through the dungeon. He then reminds Sonya that they must defeat the dungeon boss to complete her objective. Roa worries, however, that the king frog he defeated the day before might no longer be there. Changing the subject, Sonya asks Roa if he knows how monsters are actually created. She explains that monsters are born from concentrations of magical elements present in the atmosphere. This concentration, she continues, is why enemies become more formidable deeper inside a dungeon. Therefore, she theorizes that the king frog he defeated has likely already respawned, stronger than before. Arriving at the boss room, they discover a new magical barrier, confirming Sonya's grim prediction. Faced with the reality of the boss, Sonya trembles and nervously grabs onto Roa's arm. Roa looks back at her and offers reassurance, promising that he will not abandon her. Sonya gazes at him, her fearful expression softening as she takes in his confident words. With a brilliant, trusting smile, she exclaims that she completely believes in him and his strength. Now united in purpose, the two companions step forward into the darkness of the boss chamber. Sonya immediately prepares for battle, telling Roa to begin chanting while she deflects any attacks. The giant king frog looms over them, but Roa declares they will simply defeat it again. However, he is startled to realize this new king frog is even larger than the previous one. Without hesitation, the colossal frog lunges forward to attack. Sonya boldly declares that they are not the same as before, implying they have grown stronger. She bravely raises her shield, preparing to block the monster's incoming strike. Meanwhile, Roa stands calmly behind her, completely shielded from the attack. Trusting her defense, he decides to test out a new powerful spell he recently acquired. He begins chanting, stating that the spell requires a 3-second incantation time to cast. A countdown begins at 3 as a magical circle forms around him. Sonya holds her ground firmly as the countdown reaches 2. Just as the monster's massive hand closes in, the final second ticks away. At 0, Roa finishes his spell, summoning multiple swirling orbs of dark magic. He unleashes a powerful... The massive creature bellows in pain from the intense magical assault. Sonya is shocked that the once troublesome king frog was annihilated in a single, devastating attack. Roa explains that the spell has a base damage of 4,000, showcasing its immense power. After the battle, He receives enough experience points to jump a full 20 levels instantly. They celebrate with a high five, for Sonya has also achieved her goal of getting a title. With a wide grin, Roa announces that the real fun is just about to begin. He excitedly begins stripping materials from the boss, which he forgot to do the first time. The spoils of their hunt are laid out, consisting of magic stones and king frog skins. A young man stores all the loot in his item box, much to his companion's amazement. He explains to his friend Sonya that this haul will cover their travel expenses. With their funds secured, he enthusiastically declares they will leave tomorrow to challenge a D-rank dungeon. Later, the two of them are seen talking inside a tavern. Sonya agrees with his decision to leave the village, and he notes that she is also too strong for it. He confirms they are both qualified for a D-rank challenge, showing his high-level stats. Sonya seems to agree with his assessment, but she trails off with a single concern. She points out a major flaw in his plan by asking where the D-rank dungeon is actually located. Realizing their predicament, Sonya suggests that they should buy information or a map to find it. The young man seems bewildered by the idea of purchasing information or a map. Suddenly, an idea strikes him, and he confidently exclaims he knows someone who can help. Following his lead, they arrive at a well-stocked local item shop. The shopkeeper greets the young man with immense excitement, welcoming him to the store. He fawns over his customer, offering him good items at a special discount. Sonya taps the shopkeeper on the shoulder, startling him with an unexpected question. With a cheerful smile, she asks if he and her friend are close. The man panics while the boy quickly denies it, claiming he's just a regular customer. The shopkeeper then comically laments that his favorite customer has found a cute party member. Getting back to business, the young man asks the shopkeeper if he sells maps indicating dungeon locations. Suddenly, a man with an eye patch appears behind the fuming shopkeeper, saying he has a map. The older man promptly scolds the shopkeeper for calling a customer an idiot, leaving him speechless. Subsequently, he places an old, worn map on the counter, telling them to take it. Sonya is amazed by the hand-drawn map, while the man scolds his son for causing trouble. The eye patch-wearing man then explains that it's better for a strong person to hold such an item. He points to their destination, the town of Lunberg, a 2-day walk to the northeast. The young adventurer gratefully accepts the map and information, thanking the older man for his help. With their new directions, he excitedly tells Sonya that they will finally leave the village tomorrow. As the pair departs, the shopkeeper remarks that it will be quiet without his noisy customer around. The older man watches them go, thinking to himself that he's looking forward to their next meeting. The scene then shifts to the next morning as dawn breaks over the village. As they prepare to set out, the young man is still incredibly sleepy and can't stop yawning. An exasperated Sonya is forced to drag him along as he complains about the early start. Despite his grogginess, he looks back at his home, feeling emotional about finally being able to leave. He recalls his past, remembering the miserable skills he once had and the hardships he endured. With a determined look, he clenches his fist, realizing those struggles are the reason for his strength. He offers a final, grateful farewell to Foil Village, the place he called home for so long. Their journey officially begins as they walk away from the village. The duo follows a dirt path that winds its way through rolling green hills. Along the way, they easily defeat a slime monster that appears before them. The young man notes that the monsters along the road are weak, which Sonya explains is due to thin magic. She elaborates that powerful monsters are only born in areas where magic is highly concentrated. He confidently dismisses the threat, believing even strong dungeon monsters will be no match for them. Suddenly, his confident demeanor vanishes as he hears a faint scream carried on the wind. Looking ahead, they spot a horse-drawn carriage rushing down the path toward them at high speed. The desperate cries for help are coming from a young girl driving the out-of-control carriage. She frantically screams for someone to save her, certain that she is about to be killed. Witnessing the scene, both the boy and Sonya immediately recognize the girl is in grave danger. They then realize the carriage isn't just speeding, it's being aggressively pursued by something. Deciding to intervene, the duo prepares to fight, confident they can handle any local monster. However, they are shocked to see a massive D-rank grizzly bear chasing after the girl. Both adventurers are terrified, realizing the monster's recommended level far exceeds their own. The menacing grizzly roars, its sharp fangs on full display as it closes in on its prey. Panicking, Sonya offers to distract the beast while he prepares a spell, but he remains composed. He calmly assesses the distance to the monster, determining that no diversion is necessary. Instead, he begins to weave a complex spell, and intricate magic circles materialize around his hands. He unleashes a powerful great fireball, which directly strikes and engulfs the charging bear. The girl from the carriage watches in utter disbelief, shocked that the grizzly was defeated in one shot. Following the impressive victory, Sonya gains enough experience to level up, praising her companion's power. The rescued girl runs towards them, bowing repeatedly while offering her heartfelt thanks for saving her life. The grateful girl suddenly tackles the young man in a hug, calling him her savior. Overcome with emotion, she introduces herself as Marcia, sobbing that she thought she was going to die. Sonya interjects, telling Marcia that her behavior is rather rude towards the one who just saved her. With a warm smile, Sonya then offers Marcia a handkerchief, kindly telling her to wipe away her tears. Touched by this gesture, Marcia bursts into tears once more, overwhelmed by their combined kindness. After composing herself, Marcia explains that she is a merchant and got ambushed on a normally safe road. The young adventurer is surprised to hear this, as they are also headed to the city of Lunberg. He asks if they can ride with her, to which Marcia happily agrees, offering them a lift. However, she gives them a sly look, hinting that there may be a problem with her offer. Marcia gestures to her fully loaded cart, explaining there is no room for passengers due to her merchandise. The young man dismisses her concern, confidently stating that the loaded cart is not an issue at all. With a determined expression, he then reaches his hand out towards all of the goods in the cart. In a flash of light, he makes all of her merchandise disappear, astonishing both Marcia and Sonya. Marcia panics until he calmly explains that he simply stored everything inside his item box for safekeeping. Amazed by this magic, Marcia asks if all mages can perform such feats, which Sonya proudly confirms. Sonya fondly refers to him as seeing the now empty cart. He gets an idea to gather hay and make a comfortable bed for their trip. After creating the hay bed, he promptly collapses from exhaustion, the magic having drained his stamina. With everything settled, Sonya gives the signal, and they finally set off on their journey towards Lunberg. Sonya sits contentedly on the cart, watching over her sleeping companion as they travel under the bright sun. During a break in their travels, Sonya and Marcia chat while the young adventurer rests in the cart. Their journey resumes, and the cart continues along a cobblestone path towards a large city in the distance. After some time, he is gently woken up and informed that they have finally reached their destination. He awakens to the sight of Lunberg, a bustling city filled with impressive architecture and many people. Completely amazed by his new surroundings, Marcia explains that the city is a popular hub for adventurers. He thanks Marcia for the ride and asks her to stop, deciding they will explore the rest on foot. Before they part ways, he uses his magic to return all of the stored merchandise to her cart. Impressed, Marcia invites him to become a merchant with her, but Sonya quickly intervenes and refuses. Marcia accepts their decision, hoping they will cross paths again somewhere on their respective journeys. Waving goodbye, she tells them to visit her once they become famous, and they promise they will. Having parted ways with their new friend, the adventurers find themselves an inn for the night. Inside, Sonya suggests they share a room, mentioning that staying together would be a more economical option. However, he immediately refuses the idea, insisting they get 2 separate rooms, regardless of the extra cost. He passionately explains his refusal, telling Sonya that she needs to be more aware of how cute she is. Sonya is left completely flabbergasted by his sudden compliment, blushing as she repeats his words in disbelief. They continue to bicker in front of the disturbed innkeeper, creating a rather awkward public scene. Later, in their room, he lays out their plan to earn money for lodging before exploring the dungeon. With a confident smile, he decides they should sell the spoils from their previous battles for cash. Meanwhile, Sonya is still lost in her thoughts, blushing as she touches her face, recalling his words. Completely misreading her mood, he wonders if she's sick, causing Sonya to sigh at his obliviousness. The following morning, the sun shines brightly over the rooftops of the bustling city of Lunberg. Sonya greets her companion, revealing she gathered information from the guild while he was sleeping. He compliments her for waking up early, and she in turn teases him about his messy bedhead. Having already located their destination, Sonia eagerly points toward a large archway down some stairs. They arrive before the imposing, dark entrance to the Lunberg D-rank dungeon, ready for the challenge. Despite the dungeon's foreboding atmosphere, the young adventurer is visibly excited for his first ever dungeon exploration. Sonia turns to him with a serious expression, asking him to escape alone if they encounter any danger. She explains this request by stating that her life is already a gift she received from him. With a devoted smile, she affirms her readiness to sacrifice her life for his at any moment. He firmly rejects her morbid resolve, declaring that he has absolutely no intention of ever abandoning her. With their promise to protect each other solidified, they confidently begin their D-rank dungeon conquest together. Upon entering, they find themselves in a damp, gloomy area that resembles an old sewer system. Sonia confirms his observation, explaining that the dungeon was indeed built from an old underground waterway. She then deduces that this dungeon is likely filled with monsters of the water element. He contemplates this new information, recalling that elemental disadvantages can halve the damage of his attacks. This presents a problem, as his primary offensive spells, Fire Arrow and Great Fireball, are both fire-based. Despite the disadvantage, he smiles, looking forward to the challenge of fighting new water-type monsters. Suddenly, Sonia alerts him to an approaching monster, which she identifies as a red armor club. He misinterprets the monster's name, picturing a tiny, harmless crab in his mind based on the sound. However, the actual red armor club is revealed to be a colossal, heavily armored crustacean monster. The colossal crab monster immediately lunges forward, swinging its massive pincer with incredible force. Reacting instantly, the young adventurer shouts for his companion, entrusting the defense entirely to her. Without hesitation, Sonia activates her self-target skill, drawing the creature's undivided attention and aggression. Consequently, the monster's pincer slams directly into her shield, which she expertly raises to block the blow. With the monster's focus now on Sonia, he leaps into the air and begins casting a powerful spell. He then unleashes a Great Fireball, which scores a direct hit on the creature's armored face. However, the monster appears largely unfazed by the fiery blast, merely recoiling from the impact. Sonia notes that the damage was shallow, and he acknowledges that one attack was clearly not enough. Determined to finish it, he immediately channels his magic for a second, more powerful assault. The subsequent fireball strikes the monster squarely in the chest, creating a much larger explosion than before. Overwhelmed by the second blast, the giant crustacean finally stumbles backward and collapses to the ground. Both adventurers breathe a sigh of relief, watching as their formidable opponent seemingly lies defeated. He notes with concern, however, that the two powerful spells have completely depleted his magic reserves. Just then, the supposedly defeated monster lashes out with its pincer, catching him completely off guard. His eyes widen in shock as the enormous claw swings directly towards his vulnerable position. At the last second, Sonia intercepts the attack, using her Iron Wall skill to bolster her defenses. She confidently declares she can hold it for 10 seconds, urging him to recover his MP quickly. Thanking her for the save, he pulls out a mana potion from his inventory to replenish his magic. He quickly drinks the entire vial, hastily restoring the magical energy he had just expended. Meanwhile, Sonia valiantly holds her ground, bracing her shield against the monster's relentless assault. With his mana fully restored, he prepares another fiery assault, vowing to roast the monster for good. He then unleashes a final, decisive Great Fireball, which completely obliterates the giant crustacean. After defeating the powerful foe, he gains a substantial amount of experience and levels up twice. Sonia congratulates him on their victory, while she skillfully collects the large magic stone from its remains. He reflects on the difficult fight, noting that it took 3 of his powerful spells to defeat one enemy. Complaining about the inefficiency of his magic, Sonia suggests he should learn a lightning spell instead. He agrees with her suggestion, revealing that there was already a specific skill he wanted to learn. The skill is called Thunderbolt, a powerful lightning element spell that requires 50 levels to acquire. He notes its lower cost and faster casting time compared to Great Fireball, which Sonya agrees is useful. Sonya, however, expresses a sudden and serious concern about his plan to learn the new spell. She points out that spending 50 levels would drastically reduce his current level from 82 down to 32. With such a low level, she warns that even a single hit from a dungeon monster could be fatal. He confidently reassures her, stating that he trusts her to protect him, just as she did before. He then offers her a sincere thank you for her invaluable help, which seems to catch her by surprise. Overjoyed by his words of gratitude and trust, Sonya breaks into a wide, blushing smile. With their strategy decided, he officially acquires the Thunderbolt skill, eager to test its power. After successfully testing his new magic on another monster, they venture even deeper into the dungeon. The path ahead leads them into a much darker and more ominous section of the underground waterway. Sonya remains vigilant, her expression cautious as she scans the dim and unfamiliar surroundings. She suggests they walk closer for safety, and as he agrees, she bashfully moves nearer to him. To combat the encroaching darkness, the young adventurer decides to cast a simple glow spell. He proudly asks Sonya if his spell made it brighter, and she flatly confirms his observation. However, she then notes the persistent chill in the air, instinctively moving closer to him. To address the cold, he pulls out some firewood he had conveniently stored in his item box. He subsequently uses another utility spell, Ignite, to instantly start a small, comforting campfire. Using a final spell, he fills a pot with fresh, drinking water and hangs it over the flames. They enjoy a warm drink together, and Sonya remarks on how his magic can seemingly do anything. She takes a tentative sip from her steaming mug, finding a moment of peace in the dungeon. Her eyes then widen in delight as she exclaims how delicious it is, asking what kind of tea it is. He explains that he bought it thinking a former noble like her would enjoy the taste. Finding her surprised reaction amusing, he dismisses it as nothing more than a simple whim. She smiles warmly, teasing that he isn't usually so considerate, much to her own delight. Their peaceful break is suddenly shattered by the appearance of a colossal squid monster called an Eka. Before they can properly react, one of its tentacles shoots out and ensnares Sonya around the waist. The monster swiftly lifts her high into the air, causing her to scream in absolute terror. Without a moment's hesitation, he begins to gather crackling electrical energy into his hand. He then unleashes the full might of his new Thunderbolt spell, channeling a storm of lightning. The bolt strikes the giant squid's head with blinding force, electrocuting it in a massive discharge. As the monster collapses, Sonya lands safely, amazed that he defeated the foe with a single attack. The incredible victory earns him a massive experience boost, causing him to level up 23 times at once. He notes the spell's convenience, and Sonya agrees it's an excellent and helpful magic to have. Considering the pros and cons, he realizes he now has 2 powerful spells to use, depending on the situation. Sonya giggles at his excitement, fondly remarking that he looks just like a young boy in that moment. Her comment makes him pause and reflect on his feelings, realizing he is simply having a lot of fun. He had never known that fighting with someone could be so enjoyable, and the thrill of it showed on his face. In response, he playfully makes a silly face, asking if she still thinks he looks like a boy now. His sudden change in expression catches her completely off guard, leaving her flustered and blushing brightly. Unable to contain herself, she bursts into laughter, begging him to stop making such ridiculous faces. She laughingly compares his expression to a crumpled slime, a strange analogy that leaves him speechless. After their light-hearted moment, they successfully complete their first day of exploring the dungeon. That evening, under a starry sky, the 2 adventurers return from the dungeon to cash in their earnings. They present their impressive haul for the day, 20 valuable D-rank magic stones gathered from defeated monsters. Both having leveled up significantly, he proudly presents their loot to the guild for payment. The guild receptionist, surprised by the large number of high-quality stones, politely asks to see their guild card. Without any hesitation, the young adventurer cheerfully hands his identification card over to the woman. As she examines the card, her eyes widen in disbelief upon discovering his official rank is only bronze. Suspicious, She questions how a low-ranked adventurer could obtain so many D-rank stones, and he jokingly denies any theft. Still unconvinced by his playful denial, the receptionist decides to call for an appraiser to verify their claims. Dejected, Roa wonders why he always looks so weak, and Sonia tries to cheer him up with another joke. She then explains more seriously that for a small party of new adventurers, their haul is exceptionally rare. While awaiting the appraiser's arrival, Sonia enthusiastically praises her companion for his incredible strength. A serious-looking man then arrives, confirming he is the appraiser sent to inspect the magic stones. He begins his work immediately, meticulously examining one of the D-rank stones with a professional loupe. The two adventurers watch the silent inspection with calm, yet slightly anxious, expressions on their faces. His scrutiny continues as he holds the stone to the light, his intense gaze unwavering. The prolonged silence from the appraiser begins to make both Sonia and her companion visibly nervous. After a few more tense moments, the man's stern expression finally begins to soften slightly. Suddenly, he smiles and confirms the stones are genuine, noting their freshness by the lack of degradation. The receptionist is left utterly speechless, realizing the stones were indeed gathered that very day. She then apologizes profusely for her doubt, bowing repeatedly while Sonia tries to calm her down. Leaving the guild, Sonia suggests they should probably hunt in newer areas, but Roa admits he got carried away. As an apology, the receptionist offers to exchange their stones at a higher rate, calling it their lucky day. The appraiser asks why they need so much money, and Roa simply states it's for their lodging. He sheepishly adds that he just got carried away having fun leveling up, which the appraiser finds amusing. Seeing their potential, the appraiser then gives them a valuable tip for their next dungeon dive. He suggests they should try looking for a monster house, a term Roa has never heard before. The man explains that it's a rare location in D-rank dungeons, where large swarms of monsters gather. Sonia immediately understands the implication of such a place, and turns to her friend with wide eyes. Roa grins enthusiastically, realizing a monster house would be an incredible chance to earn massive experience. Back in the dungeon with their new objective, he asks Sonia if she's ever encountered one before. His eyes sparkle with excitement as he enthusiastically wonders how many monsters a monster house could hold. He celebrates the idea of wiping out a horde, while Sonia calmly tells him to settle down. Sonia admits she has never seen one, but agrees it would be an efficient way to level up. He acknowledges the difficulty of fighting a horde, but mentions a potential solution he found last night. With a confident smile, he reveals that he discovered a specific magic spell perfect for the task. The spell is revealed to be Thunder God's Roar, a powerful area of effect attack that requires level 150. Both are amazed by the wide-range magic, noting its incredibly high base damage despite its element. However, they recognize its drawbacks, including the high-level requirement that Roa currently does not meet. Undeterred, he states they can simply earn the necessary levels, seeing it as a new goal. To address the high MP cost, he reveals he has a piece of equipment that can help. He shows her the blueprint for a magic ring that provides a massive plus 400 MP bonus. Sonia realizes this is the perfect opportunity for his item creation skill, which he confirms he can do. Deciding to make it, he uses his skill, and a shimmering ring materializes in his hand. He then presents the finished ring to Sonia, who joyfully exclaims that it suits him very well. She gently takes his hand, admiring the craftsmanship of the newly created magical item on his finger. Blushing, she compliments his elegant hands, saying the ring looks especially striking on him as a result. Their tender moment is abruptly interrupted by another Ica soldier, leaving him flustered and stammering his thanks. Sonia immediately calls for an attack, prompting him to quickly cast another powerful Thunderbolt spell. For the next several days, they dedicate all of their time to grinding levels inside the dungeon. Their efforts pay off as they gather many magic stones and gain numerous levels, constantly facing new foes. By the end of the second day, Roa successfully reaches his target of level 150 through solo grinding. The next morning, he realizes in frustration that he's one level short of the 151 needed for the skill. To gain the crucial final level, he finds and unapologetically obliterates a nearby Red Armor Club monster. Having finally met the requirement, a brilliant light confirms he has successfully acquired the new lightning magic. With crackling energy surrounding him, his unique skill list officially updates to include Thunder God's Roar. After spending the required levels, he cheerfully announces that he is now back to being level 1. He boasts about his high MP thanks to his ring, and Sonya notes his unusual joy for a level 1 adventurer. Eager to test out the new spell, they decide to reform their party after dissolving it for grinding. However, Roa becomes confused when he discovers that he is suddenly unable to send Sonya a party invitation. Sonya explains that a level gap of 100 or more prevents players from teaming up to stop power leveling. Grasping the new problem, Roa understands he must level up again before they can adventure together. Sonya confidently takes charge, telling him to leave it to her so he can test his new magic. She then volunteers to lure some monsters back to his location, asking him to wait for her return. He tells her to be careful and bring only a few, and she cheerfully dashes off to find them. While he waits for her, he reflects on his incredible growth, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. He recalls how he once struggled immensely to reach level 50, a feat he now surpassed in days. He eagerly wonders how many levels he might gain from defeating a small group of monsters all at once. The anticipation of unleashing his powerful new magic becomes almost overwhelming as he awaits Sonya's return. Hearing her call his name from the distance, he turns around with a confident fist pump, ready for battle. He greets her, only to see that she has returned, with a massive horde of monsters right behind her. Sonya leads the monster horde, wryly thinking to herself that she only brought back about 2. The reality, however, is a massive swarm of monsters, forcing her to scream for help while running. Roa is shocked to see she has returned with not 2, but a total of 8 powerful monsters. Acting quickly, he tells Sonya he's starting the long chant, and instructs her to run directly towards him. Exhausted but determined, she pants as she acknowledges his command and continues her desperate sprint. A complex magic circle materializes at Roa's feet as he begins the lengthy incantation for his new spell. He remains completely focused, knowing the powerful magic requires a full 7 seconds to successfully cast. The large area of effect poses a great risk, as a mistimed cast could easily hit Sonya. He had timed the spell based on her approach, but hadn't accounted for the horde slowing her down. Sonya struggles to maintain her pace, her stamina rapidly draining as she pushes herself to the limit. Roa watches with growing anxiety, nervously wondering if she will be able to reach him in time. Pushing past her exhaustion, Sonya shouts for him to fire the spell, putting her complete trust in him. She screams that she will dodge it somehow, questioning if he has the faith to trust her in return. With only 2 seconds left, the pressure mounts as Sonya closes the final distance between them. The countdown reaches its final second, just as Sonya sprints past him, perfectly clearing the blast zone. At the precise moment she is clear, he shouts at the top of his lungs for her to jump. Following his command, she leaps high into the air as the magical energy around him reaches its peak. He then raises his hand, now brimming with immense electrical power, and prepares to unleash the attack. With a powerful roar, he finally casts the spell, unleashing the full force of Thunder God's Roar. A massive torrent of lightning erupts from his hand, engulfing the entire monster horde in a blinding flash. Roa stands protectively beside Sonya as the powerful lightning spell decimates the surrounding monster horde. The massive creatures are completely helpless against the overwhelming electrical onslaught, getting utterly annihilated. Sonya watches the spectacle unfold from a safe distance, her face a mask of pure awe. In the aftermath of the attack, only a shower of valuable magic stones remains from the defeated monsters. He calmly observes the result of his incredible power, the fruits of his labor floating around him. From the immense experience gain, a notification appears, showing he has instantly jumped from level 1 to 50. Subsequently, a flood of level-up notifications rapidly flashes before him as his level continues to skyrocket. His final status is revealed, showing that he has reached the incredible new height of level 110. Completely stunned by the sheer magnitude of his growth, Sonya can only stammer out a single word: amazing. He clenches his fist in disbelief and excitement, marveling at his jump from level 1 to 110. Overcome with joy, he celebrates the exhilarating feeling of becoming so powerful in an instant. Sonya, beaming with pride, praises him for his incredible feat of defeating 8 monsters all at once. He then gently teases her for her uncharacteristic mistake in luring so many foes, and she apologizes sheepishly. She admits she got carried away, having full confidence that he would be able to handle the situation. He reassures her that it's perfectly fine, as her actions allowed them to gain a massive amount of experience. Standing over the pile of loot, he confidently declares that they won't have to worry about money now. Deciding it's too tedious to pick them up one by one, he prepares to store them all with his skill. Sonya gushes over how reliable he is, playfully suggesting he could even help clean her room. Their lighthearted moment is suddenly cut short by a faint, desperate cry for help, echoing from the dark tunnel. Hearing the voice again, Sonya points ahead and urges him to go with her to investigate the sound. The two adventurers turn towards the voice, their expressions immediately shifting to concern and alarm. They find another adventurer cornered by monsters, who desperately calls out to them for help. The trapped man, injured and outnumbered, explains that he made a mistake and is unable to escape alone. Sonya points out the man's injuries, and Roa immediately resolves to save the overwhelmed adventurer. He instructs Sonya to gather the enemies into a tight group to maximize the impact of his magic. With crackling electricity in his hand, Roa confidently states he now has a grasp on the spell's range. He then casts Thunder God's Roar again, annihilating the monsters with a massive electrical discharge. The rescued adventurer is left in utter disbelief, barely able to process the overwhelming display of power. He stumbles forward, amazed that the formidable creatures were all defeated with just a single attack. Roa rushes over to check on him, pointing out his bloody wounds as the man offers his thanks. The injured adventurer dismisses his wounds as minor, still looking gratefully at his young saviors. While they talk, a flurry of level-up notifications suddenly appears in front of Roa's face. The man notices the visual effects, jokingly pointing out that Roa is also covered in battle results. Later, the grateful adventurer treats them to a meal at a tavern, thanking them for saving his life. He insists it's his treat, happily raising a mug and telling them to eat as much as they like. Roa eagerly devours a large piece of meat, and the man asks if he was starving, amusing Sonya. The adventurer belatedly introduces himself as Eric, stating that he is also a D-rank adventurer. Sonya introduces herself, and then Roa, playfully calling him a glutton, much to his chagrin. Eric repeats Roa's name, remarking on the incredible power he possesses, despite his youthful appearance. He then asks what Roa's rank is, guessing it must be at least C to wield such powerful magic. While eating, Roa nonchalantly reveals that he is still an E-rank adventurer, much to Eric's shock. Eric yells in disbelief, unable to accept that Roa's rank is lower than his own D rank. This revelation leaves Eric utterly bewildered, and Sonya explains that Roa's situation is quite complicated. Changing the subject, Roa asks Eric why he was adventuring alone, and Eric admits he recently had a party. He then confesses with a wry smile that he was kicked out for being too weak to keep up. Sighing in defeat, Eric laments that he is not cut out to be an adventurer and should probably quit. Sonya cheerfully refutes this, suggesting that he could simply form a new party with them instead. However, she quickly crushes his hope with a deadpan stare, stating it was just a joke. Roa casually adds that it's common for adventurers to quit around D rank when things get serious. He then suggests Eric could take over his family's item shop, as his adventuring experience would be useful. Curious, Roa asks about the dungeon's final boss, but Eric admits he's never reached the lowest floor. Eric shares a rumor about a C-rank monster boss, making Roa ponder the magic needed for such a fight. As a final piece of advice, Eric suggests Roa take on more guild quests to rank up. He also warns him that powerful people tend to attract trouble, so he should be careful not to stand out. Roa casually dismisses the warning, claiming he's already used to getting into trouble, which makes Eric laugh. The three adventurers continue to drink and celebrate together late into the night, ordering more rounds. The scene then transitions to the following morning, with bright sunlight shining through the inn's windows. Roa is seen sleeping peacefully in his bed, a bit of drool escaping from the corner of his mouth. He wakes up groggily, confused about how he got to bed. With vague memories of drinking late, still half asleep, he notices an unfamiliar weight on his arm, prompting him to slowly turn his head. Roa awakens to the shocking discovery of Sonya sleeping peacefully right beside him in his bed. He stares in disbelief for a moment, his mind racing to understand the unexpected situation. Sonya slowly begins to stir from her sleep, sleepily murmuring about how close his face is. Still half asleep, she smiles contentedly and snuggles closer, believing she is having a pleasant dream. Her movement sends Roa into a full-blown panic, hiding his face under the covers in shock. He then hastily scrambles out of the bed, putting some distance between them in his confusion. In a flurry of panic, he rips the blanket off of her, revealing she's still fully dressed. Seeing that she is still sound asleep, he calms down and gently covers her back up again. He steps out of the room, sighing in relief that they were clothed, and nothing untoward had happened. Just then, Sonya jolts awake, looking around in a daze before realizing she is in Roa's room. Roa quickly tries to explain, guessing she must have helped him back and fallen asleep from exhaustion. The realization of what happened causes Sonya to blush furiously, completely overwhelmed with embarrassment. Roa attempts to calm her down, loudly insisting that nothing happened and she was simply tired. Too mortified to listen, Sonya screams and smashes through the door, leaving Roa utterly perplexed by her reaction. Later that day, after the commotion has settled, they make their way back to the Adventurers Guild. The familiar guild receptionist greets them with a cheerful smile as they approach her counter to report. She excitedly informs them that she has already heard all about their heroic rescue of Eric from him. When she asks if they were resting, both become visibly flustered, awkwardly recalling the morning's events. The receptionist then happily announces that they have been promoted, asking for their old guild cards. In disbelief, Roa accepts his new card, as she explains their deeds have earned them a rank up. Roa gazes proudly at his new guild card, admiring the shiny silver design that signifies his promotion. The receptionist also points out his new mage job title and suggests they check the quest board. Following her advice, the two adventurers head over to the board to look for a suitable new mission. Sonya's eyes light up as she excitedly points out a monster house subjugation quest on the board. Roa is shocked to see the quest offers a substantial reward of 150,000 mul, which is quite high. However, Sonya notes the quest's location is on the dungeon's 6th floor, a level they have yet to reach. Feeling confident with his new level, Roa decisively pulls the request from the board, accepting the challenge. Just as they are about to register the quest, another adventurer suddenly yells at them to stop. A rival party of 3 adventurers blocks their path, condescendingly telling the rumored duo the quest is too much. Both Roa and Sonya are taken aback by the sudden and hostile confrontation from the strangers. Roa demands to know who they are, and the party's leader reveals he knows about their recent exploits. He describes the circulating rumor about a tank who doesn't attack and a mage who one-shots monsters. Sonya looks flustered upon hearing the rumor, realizing it is undoubtedly about her and her companion. With a defiant glare, Roa firmly states that he will not give up the quest, as it was their goal. The refusal sparks a childish argument between Roa and the other adventurer over who saw the quest first. Enraged, the rival adventurer throws a punch, shouting at the small fry to not get cocky. His party members quickly restrain him, laughing as they apologize for their leader's hot-headed behavior. As the strange group departs, Roa and Sonya are left wondering about the odd encounter they just had. Undeterred by the confrontation, the duo proceeds with their plan to tackle the Monster House quest. They successfully reach the 5th floor of the dungeon, where a ferocious monster immediately greets them. Without hesitation, Roa unleashes a powerful Thunderbolt spell, crackling with electrical energy. The lightning bolt strikes the monster head-on, vanquishing it in a brilliant, explosive flash. Unbeknownst to them, the rival party had been watching from a hidden corner, witnessing the entire battle. The party's leader, Jake, angrily dismisses the stalking accusation, vowing to make the duo suffer. He confidently boasts about their impending victory, though his female companion remains skeptical of his claims. Meanwhile, Roa and Sonya celebrate their effortless progress with a cheerful high five, feeling unstoppable. The rival mage thoughtfully analyzes Roa's power, realizing he's using spells far beyond his apparent rank. Her companion, the archer, speculates that Roa's magical prowess might even surpass her own. This assessment seems to please the female mage immensely, as she blushingly declares he is her type. Enraged by their praise for another, Jake angrily proclaims that his party is #1 in Lunberg. His party members try to placate him, with the female mage teasingly offering to be his #1. Having moved on, Roa and Sonya stand before the dark entrance to the dungeon's 6th floor. Sonya confirms Roa's new level is 152, and he enthusiastically confirms he is ready to proceed. He explains that with his massive level boost, it's time to invest in some powerful new skills. With a determined expression, he reveals that he has already selected 3 specific abilities he wants. The first is a high damage skill called Violet Lightning Flash, which has a steep attack power requirement. Next is the creation recipe for a mithril sword, a powerful weapon that grants a massive attack boost. The final ability is Body Enhancement, a skill that temporarily multiplies the user's physical stats. Roa explains his strategy. He will first create the sword to meet the lightning skill's attack requirement. Putting his plan into action, he immediately begins to materialize the powerful mithril sword using his creation skill. As ancient runes circle around him, Roa successfully creates the glowing, ornate mithril sword. Sonya gazes at the newly forged weapon in complete awe, whispering how cool it looks. She praises his impressive appearance, but he tells her not to mention he's now only level 2. Roa then asks Sonya to dissolve their party again, so he can solo grind experience from the monster house. With all his preparations complete, he confidently declares they are heading straight for the monster house. Upon arriving, they are immediately confronted by the menacing, glowing eyes of the dungeon's fearsome inhabitants. The adventurers find themselves standing before a towering, shadowy behemoth, one of many creatures within. A massive, chaotic horde of various powerful monsters is revealed, filling the entire chamber before them. Both adventurers feel the immense, overwhelming pressure emanating from the terrifying swarm of creatures. Sonya urgently advises him to finish the fight quickly with a single area of effect spell. With a grim expression, he acknowledges her warning, knowing he cannot afford to make any mistakes. She promises to protect him, but he sternly instructs her to flee immediately if things go wrong. Taking a deep breath, Roa steels his resolve, preparing himself for the incredibly dangerous battle ahead. He then roars a challenge at the horde, intentionally drawing the full aggression of every monster towards himself. The fearsome beasts react instantly, their predatory gazes locking onto their single, defiant target. Roa stands alone and exposed in the center of the chamber, completely surrounded by the encroaching monsters. From their hiding spot, the rival party watches in disbelief as Roa deliberately provokes the entire horde. Their leader, Jake, nervously questions whether Roa can possibly survive such a reckless and dangerous stunt. Sonya looks on with a worried expression, her face tense as she watches him face the overwhelming odds. Closing his eyes, Roa focuses his power, vowing to devour every last one of his enemies completely. Sonya watches with bated breath, nervously counting down the final 3 seconds before the spell hits. The rival party also looks on in tense anticipation as the countdown continues with only 2 seconds remaining. With just 1 second left, the massive monsters lunge forward, their gaping jaws about to crush Roa. Despite the lethal attacks closing in on him from all sides, Roa remains eerily calm and focused. His eyes then snap open, blazing with power as he prepares to finally unleash his devastating magic. He thrusts his hand forward, releasing a massive, uncontrollable torrent of pure lightning towards the horde. The blinding electrical energy tears through the chamber, creating a chaotic storm of light and destruction. His thunder god's roar slams into the monsters, engulfing them in a series of violent crackling explosions. The overwhelming power of the spell completely disintegrates the creatures, leaving nothing but dust and echoes. In the aftermath of the blast, Sonya looks on with a wide, proud smile at his incredible success. Jake, however, is left completely speechless. his face a mask of utter shock and disbelief at the spectacle. Standing amidst the fading energy, Roa himself seems bewildered by his own overwhelming power and newfound strength. He grins with exhilaration, reveling in the tingling sensation of power that surges through his entire body. As a torrent of level-up notifications appears, he savors the euphoric feeling of his strength rapidly increasing. The numbers continue to climb at an astonishing rate, quickly surpassing level 160 and showing no signs of stopping. Finally, his level skyrockets to an incredible 170, and he celebrates his monumental achievement with a triumphant cheer. Sonya runs over, her eyes wide with amazement as she congratulates him on his unbelievable jump to level 170. She then gestures to the massive pile of defeated monsters, pointing out the vast amount of valuable materials left behind. Overjoyed by their spoils, they decide to collect only the rarest materials from the mountain of monster corpses. Just then, a noise from a pile of rubble reveals that the rival party has been secretly watching them the entire time. The rival party watches in awe, realizing no one else in the city possesses such overwhelming magical power. The archer begrudgingly admits defeat, acknowledging that Roa's party is now the strongest in town. Their leader, Jake, grits his teeth in frustration, stubbornly refusing to accept their superior strength. In a sudden outburst, he furiously declares his refusal and challenges Roa's party to a formal duel. His teammate tries to reason with him, but Jake insists their superior knowledge of the dungeon gives them an edge. He clenches his fist, confident that they can still win if they are the ones who set the rules. Jake boasts that defeating them will make his party the strongest, prompting his teammate to call him a muscle brain. Misunderstanding the insult as a compliment, Jake proudly agrees, much to his friend's complete exasperation. The archer sighs in defeat, realizing that it is now impossible to stop his hot-headed leader's plan. He then suggests that his party should determine the rules of the duel, a condition Jake accepts. The female mage of the group seems entirely captivated by the turn of events, blushing with excitement. They then notice that Roa and Sonya have already left, leaving the remaining monster materials behind for them. This unexpected gesture leaves the rival party questioning whether Roa's group has any pride at all. Later, back at the bustling Adventurers Guild, rumors of their incredible feat have already begun to spread. Other adventurers gossip in amazement, wondering how a mere duo managed to clear out the monster house. Sonya notices the stares, while Roa remarks that it's not a bad feeling to be the center of attention. He then playfully tells her to stop looking around at their newfound admirers, bringing her focus back to him. Roa excitedly shows off a large bag of money, calculating their total earnings from the quest and materials. Sonya is thrilled by their substantial reward, and Roa suggests they can afford to be a little extravagant now. With their finances secured, he looks away wistfully, mentioning, "There's something he has always wanted to eat." 1001. Suddenly, his expression turns serious as he gazes into the distance with newfound resolve. Moments later, a massive, sizzling steak is placed right in front of them. Sonya's eyes light up with pure delight, exclaiming how delicious it looks. But Roa remains quiet, admitting it's been a very long time for him. Confused, Sonya asks him what's wrong, expecting him to burst into tears as usual. He scoffs at the idea, confidently telling her not to be so ridiculous. With a proud smile, he declares he is no longer the poor boy who cries over meat. Sonya watches him silently, a thoughtful and slightly concerned look on her face. Roa then playfully asks if she thinks he doesn't know how to use a knife and fork. He immediately breaks down, confessing he's only ever eaten bugs and needs her help. Sonya smiles kindly and demonstrates, patiently showing him how to cut the steak. With a warm smile, she then holds out the first piece, offering it to him. Her simple act of kindness immediately brings Roa to tears. Completely overwhelmed by emotion, he quickly snatches the bite of food from her fork, his composure completely gone. Crying uncontrollably, he screams about how incredibly delicious it is, making Sonya smile. He continues to devour his meal, complaining that it's far too good to eat. Suddenly, Jake's party appears, smugly commenting on their monster house conquest. Roa angrily confronts them, as Jake declares they will settle who's number one, Pointing aggressively, Jake challenges them to a formal duel in 3 days' time. Both Roa and Sonya are left completely speechless by the sudden, unexpected challenge. Roa immediately refuses the challenge, as the rival mage apologizes for her party's foolish leader. She gently takes his hand, saying there is no need for them to fight. Dori proposes a simple race to the dungeon boss instead, with a valuable prize for the winner. She then reveals the incredible stakes, a special promotion to C rank if they win the race. Jake grows jealous of her friendly demeanor, but Dori insists there is no harm in accepting. Sonya, however, immediately dislikes her, urging Roa to accept the challenge and crush them. Roa sighs but agrees, since he planned on defeating the dungeon boss anyway. He then confidently shouts his acceptance, officially beginning the high-stakes competition between the two parties. Back in the familiar depths of the dungeon, they begin their final preparations for the race. He explains his plan to acquire Violet Lightning Flash, a skill powerful enough to beat a C-rank boss. By grinding together, Sonya can learn new skills, which will let her protect him as he levels up again. After their intense training, Roa's stats are revealed, showing he has reached an incredible level, 200. Sonya has also reached level 200, her defensive capabilities now stronger than ever before. They celebrate their new power, with Roa feeling secure with his 4-digit HP for the first time. On the day of the race, they stand determined before the dungeon, vowing not to be defeated. Inside, Jake's party greets them with smug confidence, finally ready for the duel to begin. Roa stares back coldly, declaring that their arrogant attitude will end today. Suddenly, a guild staff member appears, announcing the duel between Lunberg's strongest and the newcomers. Both parties are shocked to see the duel has become a massive public event with a cheering crowd. The MC explains the rules: a timed race to defeat the boss, measured by a special magic timer. The appraiser explains the rules, requiring the boss's magic stone as proof of their victory. The guild staff member asks who will go first, and Jake arrogantly declares his team will lead. He taunts Roa to wait for his swift return, but Roa coolly retorts he has no reason to run. As Jake's party prepares to leave, the female mage Dori shyly approaches Roa. With a blushing smile, she wishes him good luck, hoping for a great match today. She playfully asks him not to hate her, prompting an angry shout from her team leader. With the first team now inside the dungeon, the long wait for their return finally begins. An hour and a half later, the crowd waits anxiously outside the dungeon entrance for them. While waiting, a pouting Sonya asks Roa if all men prefer women with large chests. Roa, caught off guard, awkwardly replies that he thinks it just depends on the person. He then smiles, confessing he prefers strong people he can fight alongside, just like Sonya. Overjoyed and blushing, Sonya's face lights up as she agrees it's because it's fun. Their conversation is cut short as a spectator shouts that Jake's party is finally returning. The rival party emerges confidently from the entrance, immediately demanding to know their official time. The MC announces their impressive time: 1 hour and 32 minutes, far faster than the average. The crowd erupts in cheers for their incredible speed, and Jake smugly accepts the praise. Jake then turns to Roa, confidently boasting that beating his record will be impossible for them. However, Roa recalls that their own trip to the final floor yesterday only took about an hour. Sonya realizes that if the boss isn't an issue, this victory is practically guaranteed for them. With their confidence restored, they step into the familiar brick-lined corridors of the dungeon. Upon entering, they immediately face a ferocious level 150 lizard fighter, baring its sharp teeth. Roa yells for Sonya to get down, and she immediately complies, ready for his command. She slides forward, unleashing a powerful lightning attack that strikes the beast head-on. With the monster defeated, Sonya notes their excellent pace, which Roa agrees is almost too easy. He comments on their improved teamwork, and she happily agrees they are in perfect sync. Sonya confidently states that with so little time lost, their victory is practically guaranteed. Roa reminds her not to get cocky, since the most difficult challenge, the dungeon boss, still awaits. With a bright smile, she promises to show him just how strong and reliable she has become. Facing another lizard monster, Roa tells her he is counting on her to take the lead. However, the monster is crying, having been dumped yesterday, prompting Sonya to tell Roa to finish it. Having cleared the floor with ease, the pair continues their rapid descent down the stone steps. They finally arrive before a massive, glowing barrier. Realizing they've reached the final floor, Roa warns her that a powerful C-rank monster lies ahead, but she declares they will not lose. With their resolve solidified, he gives the signal, and they charge into the boss chamber. Inside, a massive, shadowy, horse-like creature with glowing eyes awaits them in the darkness. The dungeon boss is revealed, a C-rank Kelpie with a staggering recommended level of 400. Without warning, the fearsome Kelpie lunges forward, charging at them with blinding speed. Sonya instantly reacts, shouting, "Iron Wall!" to bolster her impressive defensive capabilities. She bravely rushes to meet the boss head-on, preparing to intercept its powerful attack. To protect her partner, she activates her self-target skill, drawing the monster's full attention. The Kelpie's powerful attack slams into Sonya's shield, creating a massive, explosive impact. With a determined gaze, she holds her ground, successfully withstanding the ferocious assault. Roa praises her incredible defense, marveling that she can endure the attack despite the level gap. He then begins to channel his Violet Lightning Flash, a spell with a 2-second incantation time. Immense electrical energy crackles around him and his sword as he prepares to strike. With the spell fully charged, he faces the massive dungeon boss, ready to end the fight. With a powerful roar, he prepares to unleash the full might of his newly acquired magic. He swings his blade, releasing a gigantic arc of pure lightning directly at the Kelpie. The monster bellows in agony as the devastating electrical attack courses through its body. Overwhelmed by the single attack, the colossal dungeon boss collapses heavily to the ground. System notifications confirm his victory, showing he has leveled up from 200 to 270. He also receives the Lunberg Dungeon Conqueror title, which grants him a plus 300 MP bonus. Sonya celebrates, exclaiming that he managed to one-shot a powerful C-rank monster. Lying defeated, Roa notes the spell's insane damage, which was amplified by the elemental advantage. They celebrate their victory, realizing all they need to do now is grab the magic stone and leave. However, Sonya's cheerful expression suddenly fades, replaced by one of confusion and concern. She looks around the chamber, telling Roa that something feels incredibly strange about the room. Sonya then points out that the magical barrier sealing the room hasn't disappeared. Roa is shocked, insisting that's impossible, because he knows for a fact he defeated the boss. Suddenly, Sonya looks up in terror, pointing above them as she stammers his name. A massive, shadowy figure suddenly looms over them, catching both adventurers completely by surprise. It's the B-rank extra boss, the ghost of a pirate, with a staggering recommended level of 1000. Both Roa and Sonya stare in absolute horror, unable to comprehend the impossible foe before them. The skeletal pirate grins menacingly, its glowing eyes fixed on them as it prepares to attack. It lunges forward with incredible speed, swinging its massive cutlass directly at a terrified Roa. Sonya screams his name, desperately activating her self-target skill to intercept the fatal blow. She positions herself in its path, but the fearsome extra boss completely ignores her taunt. Her eyes widen in shock as she screams that her self-target skill has no effect. Roa realizes with dread that the powerful monster is specifically targeting him, and him alone. Sonya calls out his name in terror as he prepares to block the boss's attack. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, the MC notes that a full 45 minutes have passed. The guild staffer watches her timer, confirming that Roa's party shows no signs of returning yet. Jake smugly assumes they're struggling, while Dory insists he'll easily win. The guild staffer playfully asks whose side he's on, to which he replies he's on his own. To pass the time, she decides to tell them a scary story about the dungeon's secrets. She reveals the chilling legend of extra bosses that can sometimes appear in dungeons. These bosses only appear under certain conditions and possess overwhelming, off-the-charts strength. However, she then dismisses it as a myth, since no extra boss has ever been reported here. Back in the dungeon, it becomes clear that the conditions for its appearance have been met. The narrator explains that this is no accident, as the boss continues its relentless assault on Roa. Roa barely manages to block the pirate boss's powerful strike, their swords clashing with immense force. He grits his teeth, straining under the overwhelming pressure of the much stronger opponent. The two engage in a high-speed duel, their blades creating a shower of sparks in the dark chamber. Pushed back, Roa realizes that just blocking one hit from the B-rank boss causes his entire body to ache. He discovers the teleport stone won't activate, leaving him with no choice but to defeat the monster. The skeletal pirate looms over him, mocking his attempt to fight a level 1000 boss at level 270. Sonya desperately yells for him to create distance so she can support him with a lightning spell. Roa manages to leap back, shouting for her to fire her spell now that he has an opening. Trusting her plan, he prepares himself as the pirate boss continues its relentless pursuit. He unleashes a Thundercast spell, launching a powerful sphere of electrical energy at the foe. However, the pirate boss effortlessly deflects the powerful spell with a single swing of its cutlass. Sonya watches in disbelief, shocked that the creature managed to dodge her lightning magic. Roa realizes in horror that the boss is far faster than his Thundercast spell. His eyes widen in sheer terror as he understands the true speed of his opponent. Before he can react, the pirate closes the distance and lands a devastating blow. Roa is sent flying across the room, crashing hard into the solid brick wall behind him. Sonya screams his name in absolute terror as he lies helpless on the ground. The extra boss raises its blade, preparing to execute the fallen and vulnerable Roa. But at the last second, Sonya bravely leaps in front of him, blocking the fatal strike. She breathes a sigh of relief, realizing her selfless act has finally shifted its aggro to her. Roa yells at Sonya to buy him some time, urging her to get back on her feet quickly. However, he clutches his wounded side, admitting he is in no condition to fight back. He checks his stats, realizing with dread that he only has 120 HP remaining. He always knew he would eventually face an opponent against whom his magic was useless. Sonya struggles to block the boss, believing this must be a trial she is destined to overcome. Roa reflects on how hard he fought to get here, remembering how many adventurers quit at D rank. With renewed determination, he declares that he will not break so easily, his resolve hardening. He analyzes his failed attack, realizing the distance was too great and his approach too predictable. Even with a surprise attack, he knows the boss is fast enough to counter him before he can cast. With his magic nullified, he grips his sword, realizing a different approach is necessary now. Since he can't chant and dodge simultaneously, he resolves to rely on close quarters combat instead. He then smirks, remembering he has the perfect instant cast spell for this desperate situation: body enhancement. First, he pulls an MP potion from his item box, deciding to completely restore his magic reserves. He then sacrifices 200 levels to acquire the skill, his own level plummeting down to 70. With glowing runes surrounding him, he activates body enhancement at its maximum 3 times multiplier. His status screen updates, showing his attack power has skyrocketed to an incredible 1,440. He confirms the boost, noting that both his attack and defense have been tripled. A quick calculation reveals the skill's massive MP drain will only give him 34 seconds of use. He takes a deep breath, reassuring himself that he is not fighting this battle alone. Sonya shouts that she will create an opening for him to recover MP if he runs out. Roa shouts his new plan to Sonya. He'll engage in close combat and needs her support. With a confident smirk, he grips his sword and declares that it's time for round 2. The pirate boss scoffs, mocking the level 70 adventurer for daring to challenge a level 1000. With his body enhancement active, Roa squares off against the formidable extra boss. He rushes forward with incredible speed, closing the distance in the blink of an eye. The pirate boss reacts instantly, swinging its massive cutlass to meet his swift charge. Their blades clash with a deafening sound, but this time, Roa successfully holds his ground. The skeletal pirate seems surprised by his unexpected resistance and newfound physical strength. Roa breaks the lock, skillfully dodging a follow-up attack from the fearsome ghost pirate. They continue their high-speed duel, exchanging a furious flurry of blows across the chamber. He lands, realizing that while he can't break through, he's no longer being overwhelmed. A glimmer of hope appears as he feels he might actually have a chance to win. He lunges forward again, engaging the boss in another intense and spectacular clash of swords. With intense focus, Roa carefully analyzes the boss's attack patterns, searching for an opening. Seeing his chance, he ducks under a wide swing and lands a punch on the boss. The boss recoils in surprise, caught off guard by the unexpected unarmed strike. Roa celebrates his minor victory, exclaiming that he managed to land a shallow hit. He then smiles, realizing with amusement that he's actually enjoying this life-or-death battle. Angered by his audacity, the pirate boss's glowing eye narrows with pure, menacing fury. It retaliates with a flurry of its own strikes, which Roa expertly parries one by one. Roa checks his dwindling MP, realizing he desperately needs an opening to recover his magic. He expertly parries another of the relentless and powerful lunges from the skeletal pirate. The boss unleashes a flaming strike, which Roa manages to block with his enhanced strength. Suddenly, he realizes the monster is attempting to maneuver around him for a deadly backstab. At the last second, Sonya intercepts, using her self-target to block the boss's path. She holds her shield firm, a determined expression on her face as she protects her partner. The extra boss's glowing eyes glare down, its full attention now fixed upon the brave tank. It unleashes a devastating blow, but Sonya successfully manages to block the powerful attack. She realizes with amazement that her taunt skill is finally effective at close range. She yells for Roa to recover while she holds it off, and he thanks her for the perfect timing. Sonya struggles under the immense pressure, already gasping for breath from the sheer effort. Knowing time is short, Roa quickly downs 3 MP potions to completely restore his magic. With his MP recovered, he watches intently, finally beginning to see the boss's attack patterns. The pirate boss suddenly leaps over Sonya, preparing to strike Roa directly from the air. It grins menacingly as it prepares another powerful, high-speed thrusting attack against him. Roa predicts the thrust is coming and prepares himself to dodge before the next attack lands. As the boss lunges, Roa sidesteps the attack, seeing a clear opening to finally counter. However, the boss unleashes a surprise magical blast from its free skeletal hand. The pirate grins, its sword ready as the immense magical energy gathers in its hand. Before the deadly blast can hit its mark, Sonya tackles Roa, pushing him out of harm's way. Seeing her chance, Sonya screams at Roa, telling him that now is the perfect time to strike. He understands her signal immediately, shouting that he is finally beginning the incantation. The pirate boss's glowing eye narrows, sensing the immense magical energy now gathering in the room. Sonya desperately holds the monster in place, giving Roa the crucial time he needs to cast. However, the boss retaliates with a powerful strike, injuring Sonya and sending her flying back. With Sonya now out of the way, the extra boss leaps high into the air to attack Roa. Roa stands his ground, his body enhancement still active as he prepares to meet the attack. With a defiant grin, he reveals that 2 seconds have already passed. His spell, fully charged, he unleashes a massive, blinding torrent of pure electrical energy from his outstretched hand. The full power of his violet lightning flash rips through the chamber in a destructive beam. His spell strikes the pirate boss directly in the head, causing a massive, explosive impact. Sonya watches with a relieved and joyous smile as the seemingly invincible foe is finally vanquished. Roa stands triumphantly over the boss's dissolving remains, smugly asking how it feels to lose. The extra boss completely disintegrates, leaving the boss chamber in an eerie, silent calm. Sonya rushes over, crying with relief and exclaiming how worried she was that he would die. His sword shatters from the strain, and he admits it was a reckless plan. But Sonya's actions saved him. He smiles, exhausted, but victorious from the incredibly difficult and life-threatening battle. Suddenly, they are both inundated with a massive, unending flood of level-up notifications. Sonya explains the huge level gap means he's getting a massive experience bonus, and Roa wonders how high he'll go. She then asks where he learned his swordsmanship, to which he replies it was a basic adventurer skill. Sonya is amazed he's so skilled with only basic training, believing he could become a great swordsman. Roa dismisses the idea, explaining that trying to master both would just make him mediocre at both. He cheerfully declares that casting spells is more fun, so he's decided to master magic instead. Exhausted from the battle, Roa suggests they rest, and Sonya notes they still have plenty of time. He complains about the hard floor, insisting that a comfortable place to sleep is very important. With a gentle smile, Sonya offers him her lap as a pillow, which he gratefully accepts. Blushing, she shyly tells him she will only offer her lap pillow for 5 short minutes. Their levels finally stop climbing at 470, and Roa earns a new stat-boosting captain title. Outside, the magic timer finally clicks to a stop after a long and anxious wait. The guild staffer looks at her stopwatch in surprise, announcing that the timer has stopped. Jake's party turns around, exclaiming that Roa and Sonya have finally returned from the dungeon. Roa calmly announces their official time, 1 hour and 29 minutes, beating Jake's by 3 minutes. Jake erupts in disbelief, screaming that it's impossible since his party knows the dungeon better. He furiously grabs Roa, demanding proof that they actually managed to defeat the dungeon boss. With a confident smirk, Roa presents a massive, glowing magic stone for appraisal. Jake stares in utter shock, demanding to know why he is holding 2 magic stones. The appraiser inspects the first stone, confirming it's an impressively large C-rank specimen. However, his professional composure completely shatters as he gazes at the second, much larger crystal. Jake accuses them of faking it, but the appraiser confirms both stones are genuine and freshly harvested. The appraiser then reveals the shocking truth. The second magic stone is from a B-rank monster. The shocking revelation leaves Jake and his party completely stunned and at a loss for words. Jake questions the stone's authenticity, insisting that no B-rank monster should even exist in this dungeon. He turns to Roa and Sonya, demanding to know just what exactly they did inside the dungeon. Roa calmly explains they encountered an extra boss, the ghost of the pirate William Kidd, and defeated it. The entire crowd, including the guild staffer, erupts in shock, repeating the term extra boss in disbelief. The guild staffer dismisses it as a joke, explaining the strict conditions for an extra boss to appear are never met. Sonya asks for clarification on these strict conditions, prompting the staffer to begin her explanation. The first condition is revealed. The party must have 2 or fewer members, which they clearly met. The second requirement is to reach the final floor in less than 1 hour, another condition they fulfilled. A third rule is to defeat the dungeon boss in under 30 seconds, which they did easily. The final condition is to use fewer than 3 attacks, a feat Roa accomplished with a single spell. The staffer admits she only heard rumors, stating the boss only appears for those who meet all conditions. Sonya proudly exclaims that Roa accomplished everything, much to his flustered and modest denial. Dory and the archer are left speechless, realizing they defeated an extra boss in that short time. Dory excitedly tries to embrace Roa, but Sonya quickly intervenes, protectively pushing her away. Jake's teammate tells him it's a complete defeat, urging him to admit his loss with some grace. However, Jake bursts into tears of relief, exclaiming how glad he is that they survived such a terrifying ordeal. He sincerely apologizes for his behavior, admitting he feels ashamed for looking down on them. Roa smiles, thinking to himself that Jake is nothing like his obnoxious old rival Carter. The 2 rivals finally shake hands, with Roa admitting that despite everything, he had fun too. Their incredible feat attracts a massive crowd of adventurers, all begging to join their party, but Jake pushes through, protectively telling the crowd to back off and claiming the duo for a celebratory drink. Dory eagerly invites Roa to come along, but he looks exhausted, admitting he'd rather just go to sleep. Despite his fatigue, he reluctantly agrees, and the 2 parties head off to celebrate together. Later that night, under a sky full of stars, the celebration finally comes to an end. Back at their inn, the city of Lunberg is finally quiet and peaceful after the long day. The next morning, Sonia gently knocks on Roa's door, calling out his name. Finding him still fast asleep, she enters his room to check on him, asking if he's awake. She peeks into the room, her expression soft as she looks at her sleeping companion. She sighs, noting he left the door unlocked again and must have had fun drinking. As he sleeps, she gently brushes the hair from his forehead with a tender touch. She smiles warmly, thinking to herself that he must be exhausted from their intense battle. Kneeling beside his bed, she confesses how worried she was and is relieved he's safe. Believing it's a bit of a cheat, she leans in close to confess her true feelings to him. Blushing deeply, she softly whispers to him, "I love you, Roa." She watches him for a moment longer, thinking how happy she is to have met him. Later that day, the two adventurers find themselves sitting at a quiet table together. Roa bursts into tears of joy, exclaiming that they finally did it and fulfilled their promise. He proudly holds up his new shining gold guild card, confirming his promotion to C rank. He looks at the card with a goofy grin, and Sonia playfully teases him for his lack of dignity. Roa teases Sonia for not waking him, but she admits she was also completely exhausted. Now that they've conquered the dungeon, she asks him what their plan is for today. He considers their options, realizing they have now completed all their business in this town. With a bright smile, he excitedly suggests they should buy a land dragon for their next journey. Sonia is completely taken aback by his sudden and incredibly expensive-sounding proposal. He explains he saw adventurers using them back home and knows they are faster than horses. With their newfound wealth, he excitedly believes they might finally be able to afford one. However, Sonia looks hesitant, struggling to find the right words to tell him the bad news. She reveals a land dragon costs 10 million mul, completely shattering his high hopes. Dejected, Roa immediately abandons the idea, saying people shouldn't get too comfortable anyway. Just then, a voice tells him not to give up so easily, claiming to have a great idea. It's their old friend Eric, who waves and greets them with a cheerful smile. He says he's already heard all the incredible rumors about them defeating the extra boss. Eric mentions the feat is the talk of his shop, which makes Roa suddenly remember their conversation. With a grin, Eric confirms he has quit adventuring to take over his family's item shop. As a token of his gratitude for saving him, he warmly invites them to his shop. They arrive at a large ranch in the peaceful countryside, much to their surprise. Roa notes it looks more like a stable, but Eric clarifies that his family actually runs the ranch. He explains they specialize in mounts for travelers, including both horses and land dragons. Eric then invites them to see his stock, leaving both Roa and Sonia giddy with excitement. Eric proudly presents them with a majestic land dragon, offering it as a gift with no payment required. Both Roa and Sonia are completely stunned by his incredibly generous and unexpected offer. He explains he owes them his life and wants them to have this precious dragon he raised. Eric gently pets the creature, trusting that Roa and his party will take great care of it. With a sad smile, he reveals that he has completely given up on his own childhood adventuring dreams. He hopes that if the dragon travels with them, his dream won't have to end just yet. Both Roa and Sonia are visibly moved by Eric's heartfelt and incredibly selfless gesture. The massive land dragon cautiously takes a step towards them, its large claws digging into the dirt. It then affectionately nuzzles against Roa, who is surprised by how friendly the creature is. He playfully offers it some grass, which the dragon happily munches on with a gentle bite. The dragon then playfully picks Roa up in its mouth, much to Sonia and Eric's amusement. Eric tells him he can name it anything. Mentioning its cry sounds like the word yow. Roa proudly chooses the absurdly long name Yowrosking Dam Inferno Stroganoff Victory Justice. Sonia suggests a cuter name, and Eric clarifies that its previous name started with Yao. With their new companion officially named Yao Kingdom, Eric offers them any necessary supplies. He wishes them well on their journey, offering a discount to ensure they are fully prepared. The very next day, the adventurers prepare to finally depart from the city of Lunberg. Dory appears in tears, begging Roa not to leave her behind and abandon her in the city. Jake hilariously offers to trade places with Roa, an offer Sonia immediately and bluntly rejects. They notice a large crowd has gathered to see them off, a direct result of their newfound fame. Jake declares his party won't be staying stagnant either, vowing to catch up to them. He promises victory next time they meet, which makes Roa smile, impressed by his rival's spirit. Finally, Roa thanks Eric for his incredible generosity as they bid a final farewell to their friends. With their goodbyes now complete, Roa helps Sonya climb onto the back of their new companion. Their majestic land dragon, Yao, lets out an excited roar, eager to finally begin their journey. The massive beast lurches forward, beginning its swift and powerful trek out of the city. Roa exclaims with boyish glee how cool it is, amazed by the incredibly smooth and comfortable ride. As they travel, the two companions gaze out at the vast and unfamiliar landscape before them. Looking back, they see the crowd of new friends and rivals waving them off from the city gates. Roa admits he feels a little sad to leave, remarking that everyone they met was so kind. Looking ahead, he remains optimistic, certain they will meet many more interesting people on their journey. He then reflects on his past, admitting how truly glad he is to have met Sonya. Visibly touched by his sincerity, Sonya looks at him, her heart filled with unspoken emotions. Her face immediately flushes bright red as she remembers her heartfelt confession from the previous night. She nervously asks if he overheard her, but quickly backtracks when he seems completely oblivious. However, their slightly awkward moment is suddenly interrupted by a wild cobalt knight blocking their path. After easily dispatching the monster, Roa cheerfully unfolds their map, noting their destination is close. He then proudly announces their next goal: the volcanic city of Almont, nestled in the mountains. Meanwhile, in a dark forest, a voice angrily shouts at an old man to get out of a cabin. A pair of sinister-looking bandits laugh cruelly, declaring the small cabin is now their new hideout. The old man begs the bandits to leave, as he has nowhere else to go. Suddenly, a voice shouts at the thugs to stop their harassment. Roa and Sonya arrive with their dragon, demanding what the bandits are doing. He explains he was catching crabs for breakfast, annoyed by their interruption. Sonya offers up the curry she made, playfully asking if they should get serious. Infuriated by their casual demeanor, the bandits decide to attack the group. One of the thugs kicks over Roa's bucket, scattering his hard-earned crabs. Enraged, Roa declares that using his hard-won power is incredibly fun. The bandits recoil in terror, realizing the fisherman is actually a powerful mage. He unleashes a massive thunderbolt spell, engulfing the entire forest in light. The bandits are instantly defeated, left unconscious and smoldering on the ground. The old man, Elinko, explains he was traveling to Almont after buying information. He reveals Almont is a mining town with a C-rank dungeon full of fire monsters. The dungeon itself is an old mine, still filled with many dangerous traps. Its final floor is home to a fearsome B-rank boss, the Volcano Hound. Hearing this, Roa realizes that water element magic will be absolutely essential for this fight. He excitedly plans to acquire new magic and items that can also deal with traps. Sonya then reveals she also acquired new derivative skills after their last battle. Her status screen shows she has learned new skills, including Poison Shield. Roa notes that her new Poison Shield could become a great source of damage. Roa decides that he too should prepare some new magic for the upcoming challenges. He chooses Water Blade Emission, a powerful spell that costs a hefty 150 levels. He successfully creates the magic, his level dropping from 470 down to 320. Thanks to Elinko's information, Sonya notes they are well prepared for their journey. Roa wonders aloud why the old man was living so deep in that forest. Sonya explains he fell in love with the spirit and waited there, hoping to meet her again. Roa seems completely uninterested in the concept of love, much to Sonya's slight dismay. He then cheerfully declares that conquering dungeons is far more fun than waiting for love. Their land dragon, Yao, suddenly stumbles, interrupting their lighthearted conversation. Looking ahead, Roa excitedly spots their destination on the horizon. He proudly announces their arrival at the mountain city of Almont. They make their way through the bustling streets of the impressive new city. Their first stop is the local adventurers guild to register and gather information. Afterward, they find a suitable stable for their companion, Yao, to rest. Roa notices a distinct smell, and Sonia explains it's a famous hot springs town. At the inn, Roa is shocked to find a single room costs 40,000 mule per night. Sonia, however, is delighted they are sharing, cheerfully stating that saving money is important. To cover the high cost, they decide to accept a simple guild quest before dungeon diving. The quest requires them to deliver 5 heat boar hides for a 30,000 mule reward. With their plan set, Roa is excited to see what the new C-rank dungeon holds. They step into the dark, imposing interior of the Almont dungeon. The dungeon is a complex labyrinth of stone walls and crisscrossing staircases. Roa suddenly yells at Sonia to run to the left, which she does instantly. She narrowly dodges a ferocious C-rank heat boar as it charges past her. Roa stands behind it, goading the beast to continue its reckless charge forward. He raises his sword, channeling the immense power of his water magic. With a powerful shout, he unleashes his new water blade emission spell. The blades of water slice clean through the charging heat boar, defeating it. Sonia praises his powerful new magic, noting how effective it was against the foe. However, Roa looks confused, noticing that something feels strange after the fight. He realizes he didn't level up, since the monster was close to his level. Sonia explains his perception is skewed from fighting much stronger bosses before. She warns him to be careful, as there are also dangerous traps ahead. As she steps forward, she unwittingly triggers one of the hidden dungeon traps. A massive jet of hot steam suddenly erupts from the floor beneath her. Roa yells her name in concern, rushing towards the dissipating cloud of steam. Sonia reassures him she's fine, her clothes now replaced by a bikini. He stares in utter disbelief, completely stunned and confused by what just happened. Roa cautiously approaches her, still trying to process the bizarre situation. He tells her to calm down, claiming the steam obscures his vision.